There we go. Guys, welcome back to another episode of Unmotivated. I'm sitting down with Jimmy G, man. I said, I think it's time for us to get on camera, bro. Now, we did one episode before, and Jimmy was still learning. In this case, it's nothing else to learn, man. Just time to be yourself. Jimmy, go ahead and tell them a little bit about yourself, man. This is the reintroduction.
That ain't hard to do. Be yourself. Like, I don't know how to do anything but that. Jimmy Gibbs, Texas bred, Georgia born. Been here for a while. Moved away to Florida, back, and here to put in the work, my boy.
Now, couple things. First thing is this, man. Jimmy's been a guy who introduced me to the idea of friends. Now, when he first come in contact with us, he was super excited. He's a dog lover, bulldog fan, had some pit bulls back in the day, and showed us a ton of kindness. I think within the third sentence, he was like, man, sorry about Ego's loss. And I was like, oh, shit, this motherfucker, he knows who we are, what's going on, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't walk into the blendery with that approach, you know. It's like,
Yeah, but you're in the blender. You're not thinking about your dogs at this point. It's like whiskey. You're on your laser focus. So
yeah, I want to get in there, get the work done, let's move on so we can get back to our regular scheduled program. But such a great opportunity to be at the blendery and participate in Tim's growth, man. So, Jimmy, walk us through what it means to be a friend and, you know, I guess the good, the bad, and the ugly that you've experienced over the years through friendships and whatnot.
I've been through the ringer with friends, man. When I was younger, I was always like seeking approval, wanting people to accept me. I had some identity issues that I wasn't really necessarily comfortable with in my skin, who I was. I always had a genuine personality, but I always also, when I was younger, I wanted that affirmation from people. And as I grew older and experienced backstabbing, backbiting, all kinds of betrayal, I learned that real friends are few and far between. And for me, if your friend, your family, really, there is no friend. I hold people close to me, and I got a lot of people that they say they're my friend, but you can be my friend in your mind, and in my mind, you're cool, but we're not, as tight as you might think. Because I treat people with love and honor and respect. So.
And again, that's the part is why I had to sit down and talk with you about this, because I know for a fact there's a goodness to you, and part of that goodness has probably been taken advantage of at times. What was it? What was you going through when you were struggling, I guess, to with the identity side of things? Because, I mean, that's those early phases of, 15, 19, 20, 21, 100%. Trying to be a part of a group, a gang, a friend, like you trying to find where you fit in, per se.
Yeah, get in where you fit in, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that also was my biological father and his side of the family I never really had an idea of. I had a stepfather and I had a biological mom that raised me.
Yeah.
But I was torn because I carried the same name as my dad, Jimmy, but I was raised by Jack, who was a hell of a man. Really instilled in me the good qualities of the man that I am today, but I didn't know anything about the Gibbs. So I think that threw me into a little bit of a crisis in my mind because I felt like I never really knew who I was because of the roots, right?
Now, at that stage, remember, and I remember you gonna remember for damn sure, but there was no social media. And nowadays, you know what social media does to people. So now, how do you think social media would have impacted you at that time when you were going through who to be, how to get along, and even to a degree, how to stand out?
I think it could have gone either way. It could have been, there could be good and bad things in it because the connection aspect with family, maybe the Gibbs side I could have been more connected to, or maybe not. And then in the aspect of online and identity crisis, look at all these bad influences. You got a lot good, but you got more, I think, bad than good. So social media to me I'm a little torn because there's good and bad with it, right?
Yeah. But keep in mind too, our influences back in the day were what we saw.
Yeah.
And it could have been terrible, but we could still go back home and have perspective. Now it just always in your face.
Yeah.
There's whole platforms rooted in fuckery.
Yeah, and I think also the parents did more parenting back in the day.
Oh man.
So that in itself is a different dilemma. Even though we didn't always agree with how our parents raised us, they still raised us. You see what I'm saying?
Jack and I did a podcast last night. You've heard me describe components of my father, and you look at the scope of it, you go, it normals out. It's like, oh man, It was bad, but it was better. It was better that he was involved than not involved. And the latter,
it sculpted you in a lot of ways, even though some of it was, and still probably, you know, maybe eats at you a little bit, but I think it made you the man you are today for sure.
You know
the
what?
drive in you is like, you know, that was instilled at a young age.
bruh, that's what I be telling some folks. I said, look, this didn't. You don't just wake up one day and be like, hey, I'm gonna be able to talk to everybody and communicate effectively. It don't work that way. You don't wake up one day and be like, I know who I am. No, it don't work that way. Because if you have good parents or people who gave you an identity, a sense of self, a self-worth, sense of being, and told you, you know, how you should become or what it means to become and all that other stuff, bro, thank them motherfuckers.
Yeah, for sure.
Because these kids nowadays, they are going to struggle trying to figure out what the fuck to do, who to be, and even comparing themselves to other motherfuckers online constantly.
Yeah, and you got a lot of men that are being raised by women, and and if it's not a strong woman, it's hard to make a man out of a you know, because they get coddled, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm just speaking facts, and this is what it is, and this is when societies become weak, is when, you know, weak men are around. We need more strong men.
Bruh, you ain't sitting there stick to a can of oil. And that's the scary part too. When you meet men who coddle or act like, you know, I used to get into it with people, and me and some Negro get to arguing, and you know, well, he arguing, I'm like making a decision real quick.
Yeah.
What's gonna happen next? How this go in?
You're right.
But
we gonna diplomatic, or we going to war?
that's like, yes, we got about 2 more words. We can make a choice.
Mm-hmm.
But the gist of it was, I said, boy, you must have been raised by your mama, and they're used to men. We make a decision, we move on. We make a choice. We say what needs to happen. Hey, look, I'm not gonna say it again.
Good, bad, or indifferent, we gonna make it and move.
But them dudes raised by their mamas, they harpers. They like, boy, they finna harp for 30, 40 more minutes on some stupid shit because they're not solution driven.
Indecisive.
Oh my God, dude. If I came to my dad with any problem, I had about 20 seconds to figure it out. And if he had a problem, I had 20 seconds to figure it out.
Yeah, my dad was like that too. He was like, you come with a problem, you need to have a solution or a couple of options.
And you know what he got better at as we worked through problem solving? He said, so what's the plan? How you gonna make sure this never happens again? I'm like, yeah. Ooh, now I got to think about that. And I got good at that too. So after we say, hey, Dad, such and such, he says, well, I ain't got it. So what are you going to do about it? Then you get real good at strategic planning.
Yeah, figuring that out.
At a very young age, you're like, oh, there's a strategy when you go to this guy and ask for something. You just can't go in there and be like, hey, I need such and such. He's like, well, what's going on?
Yeah.
Well,
how are you going to get that?
Asking me ain't gonna answer the question. What you do if I'm not? He's like, dude, I just came here to ask for like $50, man. Yeah. I need to go to this thing. Money don't grow on trees. You know, black people love saying that. That's their thing. Money don't grow on trees, nigga. Yeah.
What chores you gonna do to get this little earn
man?
This little
Well,
keep?
that part right there, man. What would be some of your advice? Because you know we've got an eclectic group of people that listen, and I think some of them might be in an identity crisis. And we're gonna get back to the friends thing, because a lot of times people, if you don't know who you are, it's very difficult to find a group of people to grow with.
Yeah.
And you know, a community to build, or people to be a part of the world that you want to live in. So you could get pulled into 15 different categories and still be lost because you don't know who you are.
Yeah.
So, you know, you look at identity, man, what would be your best advice for those people who I guess are struggling with knowing who they are, who they want to be?
Well, I think it starts off basically, a lot of it has to do with, you know, there's so many voices out in the world. Sometimes you got to need a quiet place to meditate, whatever your beliefs are, whatever your faith is, lean into that. Read some good books about, you know, A Purpose-Driven Life is a good book to read.
That was so popular 10, 15 years ago in the church. Everybody was reading that.
It's still a good book to read. I mean, I reread it every so often just because it's poignant in some aspects. And, you know, sometimes you got to take a step back and look at the big picture, because we get caught up in the rat race of day to day. And then you lose perspective. So sometimes you got to take yourself a step back or two and look from a different perspective. Gain some perspective on it from a different angle, you know, and, you know, you just got to take it one day at a time. It's tough.
Have you figured out what your purpose is, man?
My purpose is to serve.
Yeah.
I'm here to serve and to be an example of Christ as best way as I can. I'm a comedian. I crack jokes. I say I got a foul mouth, but my heart is to serve others and to be an example of goodness and the goodness of God.
Now let me ask you this, Jimmy, and again, this goes back to the friend thing. You and I met a year ago, and we've been almost stuck together per se. I probably talked to you 4 or 5 times. It'd be that 8 o'clock call. It's like, damn, Jimmy's call. It's kind of early. No, it's
Yeah, no, that's when I was like, oh, this motherfucker's still rolling in the bed. He probably got 2 hours of sleep. Just now got some shut eye.
No, I had to I let these fools out, and they still came back in and pissed this shit. Like, God damn. But what is it? How hard is it for one to find friends? And what do you think brings people together? Because sometimes you hear that word chemistry, but there's a chemistry almost chemically when two people align realistically. Because our realities are very similar in terms of how we treat others and how we serve and the things we're interested in. And even our ability to impact. So when you can formulate a group or bring some folks together that are about that life, man, great things happen, man. But how do you explain what, I guess the saying is what's understood ain't got to be explained. But how do you explain that? Because I can't either, man. It's like all my, I've lived a long time, done a lot of things, been damn near everywhere and nowhere at the same time. And, you meet a guy like you and you're like, man, let's go stop by, see Jimmy. Let's some to Jimmy, and then it's vice versa. Literally, man.
Well, I've never met a stranger for sure. I can talk to anybody, but you definitely, when you click up with like we did, it just feels like we've known each other for 20, 30 years.
Yeah, easily.
It's honest chemistry. It's just. I think we're congruent on a lot of things morally, and so our trajectories are also upward and onward. So we're not looking back, So I think that has a lot to do with it too. Mm-hmm. I'm good, thank you. I'll be picking kernels under this camera.
Say less. But that goes back to too, Jimmy. I've not always been a friendly person. I've been around Jimmy, man, and he's definitely opened my perspective to just be more considerate of others. And shout out to Tim, another one we'll sit down and do a good podcast with about being around strong men who have good perspectives and are good leaders because they know who they are and who they want to be and how they want to impact others. It's very difficult for people to identify that they are servants. And Ray Lewis said it. He said, I want to be one of the greatest servants that ever walked this earth. And I thought, man, he said it years ago when I was doing just an athletic profile with the kids on him. And it rang true or it stuck because I'm like, damn, that's all I ever do.
Yeah.
And if anything, it really starting to make sense now. So you go, how many things can I build that serve the greater good or build more communities where men can be men, people can be people, and everyone can grow. Men, women, children, everybody. And I basically worked up the ladder. Yeah. I started with, literally kids. And I was a kid technically at the time, which Jack and I are going to get into a good podcast about that, only to get to this point where now I'm almost empowering and impacting men as well.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, now we've got the whole world to impact. What does that look like? Yeah. That's going to be interesting, man, because
it's a lot to encapsulate.
Bro, it drives me fucking crazy thinking about even what we're doing. And that goes back to that connective tissue. When I met you, super kind, super considerate, big joy. And my dad said the same thing, Trev, as long as you communicate, there's no such thing as a stranger. Mm-hmm. So you go, well, where was that taught? Well, my father, he literally forced me to talk and speak and say hello and definitely not be a mute. The fuck out of the corner, take that hood down, don't pick up your feet. All them little things between him and my grandfather, you go, man, they matter, bro. Yeah. They literally fucking matter, man. What's one of the greatest lessons you learned as a child, and what's one of the lessons from a child that you carry with you to this day?
Well, my old man was raised in a Catholic church, and he was also in the military, did 2 tours in Nam. So he was all about discipline and imparting the word of God in me. So between the Bible and making sure my chores were done, I was always aligned in that aspect.
So he's the person that put he put the meaning in Bible belt.
Yes.
Between the Bible and the belt.
Oh yeah, he would put that ass down, boy. It definitely caught some ass whippers from Jack. But it was all in love. I'm sure I sent him to an early grave with all the crap I put him through. I was a madman as a young man. So,
really?
Yeah. But I definitely turned out all right, though.
So that was a lesson to just basically stay focused, stay disciplined.
Yeah, it's discipline, focus. He was the epitome of he could walk in a room and command respect without saying a word type of guy. He was the type, but he also, when you talk to him, it's like you felt like you were the most important person in the world.
That's interesting, man.
So I think I gained a lot of these different insightful things. It's a collection of things that he's imparted into me that I still carry to this day. And some things I don't even recognize until I do, and then I'm like, wow, this you know, it's more. I gained that knowledge probably the last 10 years more than ever. Raising a blended family throughout my duration of my previous marriage, understanding the things he went through because of the things I'm now going through with my stepkids, and it was just, you know, it was God trying to show me, look, you know, see, now you see why Jack was the way he was. You see what he was trying to do for you, da 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 da. So
Yeah.
it all made sense. You know what I mean?
So-
Time revealed that to me.
Yeah.
In essence, the things I didn't understand, but slowly but surely, now it's like I think it come to full circle where I appreciate him. And unfortunately, we did the last couple years of his life. We were good terms, great terms. I just wish we had more of those years. You know,
Oh, yeah.
that's my biggest regret is not having more time with him. So.
Now, give them perspective then on what it means to be a friend, because the statistic that goes around is that most men past a certain age don't have any friends anymore. And statistically, it says that men need at least one night out a week just to be around other men. Sounds weird because I wasn't raised that way, but then you start getting around people that you admire, people that have aligned goals and aligned vision in terms of self-respect, did all these other things. What does it mean to have friends, and what's the value of a friend in your perspective, your opinion, your experience?
Well, I think good friends are important to have. I think it's important to get out. It's easy for us to stay home, and it's convenient and it's cheap, but it's like, dude, it can also become where it's like you don't even want to leave your place. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's not good either. So it's important to have some fellowship with good brothers. You know, there's a lot of bullshit. So you gotta. I'm careful about who I spend my time with and who I give that time to, because I just want to be on the same page, congruent, going forward, doing good things. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Not dealing with that rigmarole. You know.
And so, what do you look for in a friend, man? Because again, I know I've sensed your goodness, and that goodness gets misappropriated at times.
Yeah,
And it probably has over the, almost the 50 years of your life.
Yeah, now I can peep it a lot more than I used to. I think before, when I was a little more naive and also wanted that affirmation from people and wanted that, acceptance from people.
Where did it come from, though?
What?
Wanting affirmation, or
I think it just dealt with the identity of not knowing who I was, so I wanted to be accepted. Yeah, but after when I got over that, when I was like, that wouldn't take long. By the time I was probably 18, 19, 20, I was like, okay, bruh, I know who I am. I'm me. Even if it's weird, even if I don't fit in, I've always been a black sheep, but I could also be in any room.
Yeah.
And get along. But I was never really a part of any certain clique. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. I was a part of everywhere and nowhere at the same time.
Very similar to me.
Know everybody and know nothing. Like, hey, bro, I was like, I don't know.
So I had a lot of people who said they were my friends, but in actuality, I probably had two.
Isn't it better that way?
And one moved away.
Isn't it better that way, though? Because at least you know where those people stand.
100%. And I grew up in Plano at the time, which is still a very affluent area, but back then even more so. It was like what Frisco is today.
Yeah.
Plano was then.
I believe it.
So,
I mean, just look at the numbers.
Yeah, it's not as affluent. Still a nice place to live. Don't get me wrong.
Plano Senior is the only high school who has a state title in every class.
Yeah, every decade.
Like 1 through 6A, because Plano's so old, they're the only high school who has a state champion from 1A all the way to 6A.
Correct.
Or nobody else probably will ever do that because they started off
Small.
Yeah, some of them might have started off at 4A, 5A, 6A. So Plano is senior right here down at, it's like, man.
It's like 5 minutes from, not even.
Literally, bro, walking distance, no exaggeration.
I passed it when that's where I went to school.
That's crazy to think that, bro.
Yep.
I trained kids there, man.
Yeah.
Just a couple of years ago, man. Well, Jimmy, what's your best advice to those people who are struggling in life or looking for connectivity? Because, mind you, I met, Jimmy a year ago, and we connected on some food stuff. We've got dreams and hopes, and even set some expectations in terms of what we can do food wise. And he wants to live, we'll just say, Q4 of his life, doing what he loves, and part of that is cooking and serving and empowering people through food and fellowship. And that's the part that I enjoy when we do our Booze and Food on Monday, man. Yeah, everybody, like, it's funny because
Everybody chowing down.
what's funny is even Richard, he says, did you guys do booze and food on Monday? I said, dude, fuck yeah. I forgot to tell you, Richard, I looked
I
on the,
asked him, I called him, I said, are you coming? He said, probably not this week. I was like, all right.
so when I said it, I looked at the schedule in September and he's gone most of September because it's like 2 weeks. I said, dude, but just come next week. And then somebody else,
KBF's in September, so.
well, he can't come. He's got to go. So get this. He's missing it. That's a whole nother thing. But
Ah.
he's got to go to his sister's wedding the same weekend of KBF, bro. He's sick. He's sick. And Tim,
Tell him I'll take his spot. Just tell Tim I'll take his spot.
you know what? We might have that conversation on Friday, buddy.
Tell him that could be my birthday present. Tell him I'll pay for it.
But Richard was like, the first person he said, was Jimmy there? I was like, yeah, dude. Yeah. He was there, man. But it's funny because people always are
love
like, hey, and that laugh you got, man. When we doing the podcast, I said, listen, guys, when this goes up, that's the one thing I can't fix in the podcast is that Jimmy laugh. I said, so when you hear that, he's back there in the kitchen somewhere. These mics are great.
Yeah, they
but
catch
that
that.
laugh
That
is
shit's
like,
loud
bro,
as
there's
fuck, ain't it?
nothing I can do about that, man.
Got to eat that shit up. No, I think when it goes to friendship, time reveals intentions.
Yeah.
And time builds trust. When people will reveal who their true self is. So never rush into a friendship, but you kind of get that feeling. You can real people resonate with real people. So if you're not real, don't look for real friends. You got to get real with yourself before you can have real friends.
Yeah. There you have it, man. Well, again, guys, this is a guy who I can for a fact say, you don't know this yet, because I got to sit them all back down. But every one of my friends, like, dude, this nigga don't like nobody. He got no friends. And I've been in real time. I had to recap. I was like, what happened? Me and Rich are walking into this gym called One Life one time, and some girl's like, "Oh, you got friends?" I was like, "No." I was like, "Nah,
Rich, your
nah,
friend,
nah,
though.
nah." I mean, he's my friend now, but at the time, I was so dead set on my buddy Gooch. I mean, I'm like, I don't want no friends. I don't trust no niggas. I'm good. Fuck all you niggas. I'm like,
That's
I'm
some
just,
Pac shit right there.
I'm crazy, but I'm like literal. Like, no, Gooch. When I walked in, I said, I don't need to be your friend. I need to know what you know.
Yeah.
What's this? What's that? He's like, who is this nigga? Because I was very emphatic about learning about clothes and all this other stuff. I said, look, I ain't gonna bother you. Hey, what you doing? Something? He was like, damn. And basically, he taught me everything, and we are friends now. But
Yeah.
because of Tim and
Gooch
you,
got the clothing line and stuff.
yeah. Because of Tim and yourself, and even my guy Jack, who's continues to show up, are starting to become a reality. That friends are not bad people.
No.
But I grew up kind of a little bit different in regard to I don't like if you can't trust your mom and dad, you don't trust nobody.
Yeah, I mean, and also the demographics plays a part.
Huge.
Because a lot of kids in that time in that area are survival of the fittest, so they don't know anything but what they know.
Yeah.
So you're a product of your environment at that point, and it's like you got to hold people accountable. As kids, it's like, man, they don't even know better because they've been taught right, So
Yeah, and the most dangerous state of being to live in consistently is survival people.
yeah, man.
I mean, you can't see clear when and I've survived.
You always got to worry about how this is gonna how you gonna work this out. Like it's always figuring something out. That's no way to live, and it's tough.
It is. So again, Jimmy brings a level of peace. I love, as I told him, even I say, Jimmy, I have to do a podcast here when we're doing booze and food. You might have to. He's like, I got it, But he's the person who can. He's like a glue. He can keep the show rolling and the people going, the whiskey talking, the laughter.
Keep the whiskey pouring and the food cooked, and some giggles.
Hey, and that's the hard part for some, but the easiest thing Jimmy ever do is show up, man. Guys, listen, stay motivated, Jimmy. Thank you, Tom, for your time. Until next time.